Does talking about your money make you cringe? Are you tired of fighting about finances? Do you want to stop sabotaging your financial happiness? Then you are in the right place. Welcome to Breaking Money Silence, a podcast series aimed at helping all of us talk more openly about money. Your host, Kathleen Kingsbury, is doing what she does best. As a young girl, she was scolded for talking too much to her neighbors in class. After years of trying to be quiet, she discovered that speaking up about taboo topics is her strength. International speaker, author, and founder of KBK Wealth Connection, Kathleen understands money and our relationship with it. She is a wealth psychology expert who has helped thousands of advisors and clients communicate more effectively about money. Now, listen to Kathleen as she assists today's guest in busting their favorite money myth wide open.
I am so excited to have Barbara Stanny joining the Breaking Money Silence podcast today. Barbara is somebody that I've admired for years before I had the courage to reach out and connect with her, and she was nice enough to reach back, and we've managed to collaborate on and off for the last couple of years. So let me tell you, if you don't know who Barbara Stanny is, you certainly should. She's the best-selling author of Prince Charming Isn't Coming. Secrets of Six-Figure Women, Overcoming Under-Earning, and the recently released Sacred Success, A Course in Financial Miracles. Barbara has been teaching women how to take charge of their money and take charge of their lives for 20 years plus. She's an experienced mentor, wealth coach, and sought-after speaker. Barbara can help you create wealth you desire and the life you deserve. And I'm just so honored to have Barbara Stanny with us today. Welcome to the call.
Well, Kathleen, thank you. And I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, and I was excited because I remember the first book I ever read of yours might have been the Overcoming Under-Earning, which I needed at the time. And then I went back and I read the Prince Charming Isn't Coming Here book. And so I know today the myth that you've selected kind of fits with the Prince Charming book, which is, I don't need to worry about money because someday my prince will come. So tell me a little bit, Barbara, or tell the audience, what motivated you to pick that myth today that we're going to together bust wide open?
Because I think, you want me to tell you my story, my personal story, or why I think it's an important myth to bust?
Why it's an important myth to bust.
Because I think this is the number one thing that is keeping women in particular from taking charge of their finances. And I grew up that someday there'll be a man to take care of you. And that was my generation. But even the young women today, Prince Charming doesn't need to be a man. Prince Charming could be anything we think will save us. It could be an inheritance, the lottery, an amorphous something, anything. Letting go, releasing that rescue myth is the number one, is I think the most important thing we can do.
So it sounds like your research or your experience connecting and reaching and teaching a variety of women, that the idea that a man is a plan is how some other people have put it, but that Prince Charming is coming, that idea is still out there. And what's interesting to me is I haven't thought about it, but there are other ways. It could be a partner. It could be these other things you're talking about, an inheritance, or the idea that, I'll figure it out,
Let me
later.
give you an example.
Yeah, excellent. Yep.
I remember interviewing a woman who was she was an executive in the film industry in LA. She made $650,000 a year. This was in the year 2000, 17 years ago. So she was making a lot of money. She said, Barbara, I feel one step away from a refrigerator carton on the street. I said, how's that possible? She said, my only investment has been in shoes in Neiman Marcus. She said, I just kept thinking someone or something will come along and save me. There was no man necessarily. It was just something. Something was going to fall, manna from heaven was going to fall out of the sky and save her. And I think it's that myth that's alive and well, even in the successful women. It's what I call the illusion of affluence, that just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you will keep it. Because money doesn't come from what you earn. It comes from what you do with what you earn.
Great distinction. Now, with this myth, before we get into what people can do about it if they buy into this mindset, I'm wondering, is there any way that this can serve the individual? You know, sometimes with a myth, there's a way in which it helps us out, even if in the long run it kind of kicks us in the you-know-what. So is there any way in which thinking, oh, I'll worry about money tomorrow, can be helpful?
Absolutely not. Can I tell you a little bit about my story and why?
Absolutely, yeah, Barbara, please do.
So my father was the R of H&R Block. And the only advice he ever gave me about money was don't worry. And under that was the unspoken assumption that there'll always be a man to take care of you. So I thought that was great advice. I didn't understand money. I just wanted to spend it. And I married a man who was a stockbroker, and then he became and then he even got his certified financial life planners, CFP license. And so this was great. I thought, I don't have to worry. Life is good. But what I learned very early in our marriage that my Prince Charming, the stockbroker, was a compulsive gambler. And over the course of 15 years of our marriage, he continued to gamble the money away. Even when I find out every year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year, I find out he was gambling this money away. And I couldn't get him to stop. And probably because I was terrified. I didn't understand money. It was like this, it just was terrifying and intimidating. And finally, after 15 years of marriage, I decided, can't do this anymore. So we got a divorce. But even after our divorce, I decided, money's not my thing. I don't want to deal with money. And I had this theory that if you don't deal with your money will deal with you. And in the next year, I got tax bills for over $1 million. For back taxes my ex didn't pay, for illegal deals he got us in. I didn't have $1 million or anything close to it because he had gone through my inheritance. I didn't know how I'd do it. He had left the country. I didn't have the $1 million, and my father wouldn't lend it to me. And that was the moment. That was the moment that I knew. I had 3 daughters. One was just a baby. I was not going to raise those girls on the street. That's when I knew Prince Charming wasn't coming. And my Prince Charming left. So that's when I started really getting smart about money.
So if a woman is out there and she's listening in and she's thinking, oh, well, Barbara, that's an extreme example. It's not going to happen to me. This way I don't have to really worry about it, or I'm not smart enough to do finances. Kind of what is the advice you'd give her?
Well, first of all, I absolutely am convinced after 25 years of working in this field that women's problems with money have nothing to do with money, very little. It is all about their ambivalence or fear of power.
Ooh, tell me more.
Because the money does not give us power. I had the money when I was married. I had the inheritance. But my husband had the power because I gave it to him. I let him make all the decisions. He did everything. He managed all the money. He everything. Because, and I believe that we women, we don't understand power from a feminine perspective, and we're scared of it. My definition of a powerful woman is someone who knows who she is, who knows what she wants, and expresses that in the world unapologetically. What happens is we are so afraid of making waves, of rocking the boat, that we water ourselves down so we don't upset anybody or anything.
And do you think this still happens with the millennial generation?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And it's not necessarily because they're not smart. These women are very smart. It's just money is very easy to ignore until you can't ignore it anymore. And research shows us still to this day, women don't get serious about managing money until they hit a crisis, until they lose a job, they lose a spouse, or they're on the brink of retirement, which is the worst time to start. But my message is, you don't do it for the money. You do it for what the money can do for you. Because here's the difference between men and women. Men, by and large, are very motivated by profit, by perks, by prestige. No matter how much money a man has, ask him to go make more and he's all over it. A woman, generally speaking, once she has food on the table, once she is financially stable, money no longer motivates us. What motivates us is the opportunity to help others. And so I think that when we understand that once we become financially stable, growing that money, we can use it to make a difference in the lives of people we love, in causes we're passionate about. This is power.
So it's really looking at power from a different perspective. And I guess also, I'm just thinking about this as you're talking about it and how it applies to my life and the people that I work with. And so there is something that I think is a double-edged sword, because you're saying in general, women will acquire wealth. And so thinking about how they can do good deeds, and all of that pans out to be true. And when I think about my motivation for what I do, I certainly love the impact I have in helping other people. But with that said, I think that there's a societal misconception that somehow women, and you're not saying this, I know that, Barbara, but women can't be profit motivated. Like there's something wrong if we're profit motivated. Like, so what if we are?
Yeah, there is a lot of, there's a big taboo around money. There really is in our culture. We want it, but people who have it, we don't like them. I remember when I wrote my second book, Secrets of Six-Figure Women. It was my agent's idea. She said, why don't you interview women who are making more than they ever have before? And she was all excited about this idea, and I hated it. I imagined these successful women, these designer dress snobs, totally boring or totally intimidated. And I did like this out-of-body thing. I thought, wait a minute. If this is how I feel about successful women, I'll never let myself become one of them.
Huh.
I had to see I had some real stereotypes about women who made a lot of money. And so I think it's important that we do examine our beliefs and our stereotypes and the cultural myths we have adopted and integrated, swallowed whole. Because money is not evil. Money is not evil, as our culture, as many religions teach us. It's the lack of money, the lack of self-love that creates people to do bad things.
And it's so connected, right? So if you start with, you say the myth that we're busting wide open is women are not financially confident. And then you think about, okay, so that may be women's fear of having power or not defining it in a way that feels comfortable for them. But then also saying, well, if somebody's going to put me down because I am money motivated, then if I act like I'm not financially confident, it's like a great way to hide the fact that, hey, maybe I do want to make a good living and do good works. So it's kind of this vicious cycle, huh?
Let me tell you what happened to me. So I'm writing Prince Charming Isn't Coming, and I'm starting to get smart. I'm interviewing all these smart women. This is for my first book, and I'm starting to get smart. I'm starting to get this stuff, and it's just like amazing. And then one day I noticed myself going into resistance. I noticed myself fogging up, going to this complete fog. I noticed myself not doing things I need to do, like calling my financial advisor or checking my checkbook and all these things. And I remember I went to therapy, and I said, I want to get smart. I really do. I thought I was, and then all of a sudden, I can't. I just can't. And my therapist, Daniel, said to me, talk to me like I'm a voice in your head. And he moves his chair over, and I'm to address him like he's a voice in my head, like he's me. So I turn my head, and I look at him in this new chair, and I say, I really want to get smart. I really do. And he says to me, as the voice in my head, no, you don't. And it's like I couldn't argue. I couldn't argue. It was like he took the air out of my balloon. There was a piece of me that was afraid that my parents would be furious with me if I became successful and made money, that a man wouldn't love me if I was successful, that if I had money, I would just make all these mistakes and lose it. So I had to get in touch with all my fears and all my old beliefs before I could really take off.
Such great advice. So, there's in my new book that's coming out in the fall, Breaking Money Silence, there is a statistic in there, and it's probably in the 40%-ish time frame. Sorry, I don't have the exact stat in front of me. But basically, the idea that still in our society, women do feel as if they're not going to be attractive to a mate if they are financially put together. And it still runs so deep and so strong. So I think what you're sharing, Barbara, is so important, that this myth needs to be busted wide open so we can take care of ourselves as women, and then ultimately take care of our families and role model for the next generation of young women and young men. So with all that, like, what advice do you have, or what steps can somebody take who's listening, who says, well, I am not that financially confident? How do you kind of get out of that? I mean, part of it is, right, learning and learning some things about finance if you're not comfortable with finance. But I feel like it goes deeper than that. So what are some of the things that people need to do if they want to take action in this area of their lives?
So what I learned for me, and what I've learned in coaching for all these decades, is that they're getting smart about money for most women is a three-pronged process. It's what I call the outer work, the inner work, and the higher work of wealth. And the outer work is, understanding the difference between a stock and bond, educating yourself. And after I go through these three prongs, I will tell you a very, very easy way to learn about money. Okay, but first let me go through the three prongs. One is the outer work, and this is where most of the financial media focuses. The second is the inner work, really exploring, really going deep, exploring those attitudes and beliefs that you have about yourself and money. And the third prong, the higher work of wealth, is that I believe we are all here on this planet. We each have our own purpose for being here. And if we could understand what our purpose is and how money is so aligned with that, because as Michael Beckwith, the Reverend Michael Beckwith said, how can you be the light of the world if you can't pay your light bills? You cannot fully pursue your purpose if you're drowning in debt and struggling to make ends meet. So it's important to look at all three of those prongs.
Quick question before you get to the other piece. I know there's a second part to this, but so when you're saying about the higher work of wealth, and you're saying it's tied to your life purpose, is the idea that if you find your life purpose and you're living your life purpose, you will be more wealthy, so to speak? Money will come your direction, or you'll be better around wealth?
Well, I don't know if you take care of it, if you do the outer work and the inner work.
Right. I guess that, yes. Process. Okay, so if you do all three pieces, that's the theory. Okay, now tell us the next part.
It's not like do what you love and the money will follow. The money may follow, but you don't keep it.
Right.
So
exactly.
So the important thing is to really look at how you can keep it. What motivates women is the higher work. What gets us unstuck is the inner work. And what really cements our path to wealth, what really digs the foundation, is the outer work. And so really what I found, and this is what I did for me, because my eyes would glaze over, my brain would fog up, and I just felt anytime I looked at anything financial. So I did these 3 steps, and I swear you do these 3 steps for 4 months, and you will be amazed at how much smarter you will be. And it's so easy. It's small steps consistently taken that create remarkable results. So if every day you read something about money, even if it's just for a minute or two, even if it's just you're standing in the market in line at the grocery store and you pick up Money magazine instead of People and leaf through it, or before you go to bed at night, you take a money book and read a sentence, 2 sentences, a paragraph, close it. Because this is what I did. What I did is I subscribed to the Wall Street Journal, because all these women I was interviewing told me they'd subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. And that sucker came every day. And I looked at it, I couldn't understand.
It's a lot of reading, I know.
It's a lot of reading. So what I did, very smart, is I took Section C at the time. It's changed now. But Section C, which was finance and investing, and I put it on the kitchen counter, and I'd walk by it every morning. And I'd figure by osmosis, I'd pick something up. Well, by osmosis, I did. So even if it's just glancing at the headlines of the business section of the paper,
so
every
really,
day.
really small, doable baby steps. Don't try to do too much. Yep, every day.
1 minute to 2 minutes. Second step, every week, have a conversation about money.
Ooh, I like that one.
With more than you. This is why your book is going to be so kick-ass great. Because it is our secrecy and silence that keeps us stuck. We women just don't talk about money. We'll moan and groan about it. But when's the last time you've gone out with a friend or a family member or a colleague and said, do you invest? How do you invest? How did you get smart? How did you learn? What books would you suggest I read? We start talking about money. So if every day we read, if every week we talk, and if every month we save, we automatically have money transferred from our checking account or a payroll check into a savings account. And then after you have about 6 to 8 months of savings, emergency savings, you can, as you are saving in your emergency, you can also be saving in your retirement account. And even if it's just a small amount, because small amounts add up really quickly.
I love that. That's so practical, so approachable. And, time goes so quick for all of these podcasts. And certainly listening to you, Barbara, I could do a 5-6 part series. I always love what you have to say. So let's have you say a little bit about where people can find out more about you if they don't know about you yet. And also, where could they find out more about these steps or this process so they can kind of continue what we've started today?
So the best place to go is my website, Barbara Stanny, Stanny, barbarastanny.com. And if you sign up for my website, you will get an invitation the first Monday of every month. I have a monthly Money Monday call, and it is for women exclusively. And we talk about money like men never talk about money. We really get to the down and dirty. We really go deep. It's beautiful. And I also have a Facebook page, which is totally free. And you can sign up. We have over 2,500 members on this page. And again, it's a beautiful supportive community where we talk about money, where we ask questions, we get support. It's wonderful. So I'd say start there. And I also have an ebook you can get. It's totally free called, I think it's called, so now that so I'm successful, now what? And it's a successful woman's guide to creating wealth.
And we're going to put a link to those resources that she just mentioned, but also a link to the free ebook for anybody who's listening in. You can just go down and click on it. And I downloaded it this morning and started to peruse it, and it looks very good, Barbara, per usual.
Thank you.
So yeah, these are great steps that people can take. And kind of what I'm walking away with is the idea that, let's not buy into tomorrow, it's like tomorrow be a better day, or I don't need to worry about money now. And to really understand why it's important to look at it each day, each week, each month in the way that you've talked about it. And also to not delay thinking a partner or an inheritance or somehow it's magically going to get easier when in fact as adults, it's our adult responsibility to take care of our wealth and our income and manage our finances just like we take care of our health. And so this has been a really great, insightful call, and I really appreciate your insights, Barbara. So before I say goodbye, is there any last-minute thoughts you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, everyone I've worked with, including my first editor at Penguin, who edited my book, when they start getting smart about money, they all say the same thing. It's, oh my God, I feel so powerful. And that is why we get smart about money.
Love it. So worry about money and feel powerful is a reframe right there. Be powerful around your money. Thank you so much, Barbara, for your time and your expertise. As always, it's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Breaking Money Silence, hosted by Kathleen Burns Kingsbury, a wealth psychology expert and founder of KBK Wealth Connection. If you like what you heard, then check out more podcasts at breakingmoneysilence.com or subscribe on iTunes.com. Need a fun, engaging speaker for your next event? Go to kbkwealthconnection.com and find out how to book Kathleen today. Be sure to share today's show so together we can break money silence for good.